Okay, so today we'll see. I will continue from the topic where we stopped in the last lecture, right? So what are the then as I told you, so there is a natural language. Using natural language, we specify the requirements, right? Now, what is the alternative to this natural language specification? Okay, so the one alternative we have is structured natural language. Okay, so where we try to use some forms or the templates. Okay, where we try to use some sort of forms or templates. So that means this structured natural language is a alternative to only simple natural language. Okay, now there is another alternative called as design description language with graphical notation. So usually we try to use some UML diagrams, okay, UML use cases, or maybe message sequence chart. Okay, so where we try to show that how different messages, how the different messages being exchanged. Okay, when the user is interacting with the system, right? So the here we try to use some graphical notations through which also we specify the requirements, and the other one is here is mathematical specifications, right? We try to use some formal methods, right? I mean mathematical way we try to specify the requirements. Okay, so usually one example can be here. One example can be the abstract data types. Okay, so the abstract data types are the ones through which we will be able to specify um, the data type, okay, or the requirement. Okay, so usually one of the abstract data type example here is stack. Okay, stack, queue, and all, right? So you can specify them, right? You can specify the operations of the stack. Okay, so you can specify the operations of the stack using some sort of axioms. Okay, so we will see that through an example later on, but as of now you just need to understand. So these are the various alternatives. Now we'll see one example of a form based specification. Now, the structured language specification, the freedom of the requirement writer is limited by a predefined template for requirements. Okay, let's say if you are going through, in case of, if you are going with a structured language specification, there what will happen? The person who is writing these requirements, okay, so he will be following a predefined, he will be using a predefined template. Okay, so we have to write within those template only, right? So we'll see that example. Okay, all requirements are written in a standard way. That means when you use this, so usually, so you write all of the requirement using a standard format. Okay, so the terminology used in the description may be limited. Okay, so here also, so you will be using certain number of terminologies while writing the requirements. So they will be very limited because I know there is a template. So only in that, within that particular template only you are allowed to fill out the requirements. Okay. So now we'll see the example of it in the next slide. So then you will understand. The advantages is that the most of the expressiveness of natural language is maintained, but a degree of informality is imposed on the specification. So right. So why we are going with this structured language specification as an alternative to only natural language? So here we retain the expressiveness of the natural language as well as we impose some sort of degree of uniformity. Okay, so that is what we do through structured language specification. So if you are going through a form based specification, what will happen? So there is a form. Okay, let's say a form is given, there is a labels, certain number of labels, test areas will be provided in the form. Only what you will be doing is you will be giving the details, right? So this way, so there is a form based where defines definitions of the function or entity. So in the form you will be defining what are the different functions that will be there, or the objects that will be there part of the system. So they will be defined. Okay, and the description of input and where they come from. So like there will be input. So what are the different inputs? You will be allowed to describe each and every inputs, and also you will be able to describe there from where this input will be taken. Okay, I mean who is going to give this input. Okay, similarly the description of output and where they're going to. I mean so what would be the output coming out from the system, right? And where this output will be given, right? Maybe maybe into which other module this input will be, output will be given, right? Or maybe it is given to onto a screen. So whatever maybe those things will be mentioned out, right? So indication of other entities required. I mean here also you will be talking about what are different other entities need to be required. Pre and post conditions. Okay. Yeah, so if at all any pre and post conditions are required, like in case of we have seen phase entry criteria and phase exit criteria. Similarly, here also you have a pre and post conditions, right? If at all anything there, so those things will be mentioned. Side effects of any of these functions are there, so that also need to be discussed in the form. Okay. So usually what input to the module, what output going as a input to the other module. Okay, any sort of preconditions on the inputs need to be validated by the module. Okay, so maybe sometimes whatever the input that you are going to give to a particular module, right? So before that you wanted to validate whether the input is a correct or not. Let's say for example one precondition would be like this. Okay, so giving a name. Okay, so you may be inputting a name to a system, right? Now when you having a name, okay, the precondition could be that name should not have any digital characters. That means so the name should not have like this. Okay, I mean Yudhishthir 1 2 3 or this sort of, I mean digital characters should not include. The name should always contain the characters. Okay, this may be one precondition. Okay, do you understand? The example is like this. So you going to give an input to the system, maybe a name. Okay, so the name should not consist of any digital characters. That means it is only the character. Okay, so it should only consider the characters. And also you can say like it should not also consider any special character. So like this. So this would be a precondition. So this should be met. Okay. So used to supplement natural language. So this is usually used to and complement your natural language, right? So particularly useful when you have to define a number of possible alternative courses of action. When you have various number of alternative courses of action, usually we try to use tabular specification, as I told you. So form based or tabular specification, these are the examples. Okay, so these are the examples under structured natural language specification. Okay, so let's say one example here can be insulin pump example. Okay, where what do we try to do whenever the sugar level, if the sugar level is decreasing, if the sugar level is decreasing, in that case what you need to give zero amount of insulin, because the sugar level is decreasing. Okay, so you give insulin so as to control your sugar level, right? So now if the sugar level is falling or decreasing, in that case you need to compute a dose that is equal to 0. Okay, so that means R1 and R2 are the two instance or the sample of sugar level. Okay, so these are the two sample of sugar level. So R2 is less than R1. That means the recent sample is R2. So the recent sample says it is less than R1. That means the sugar level is falling. Okay, in that case you compute a dose, okay, is equal to 0. If the sugar level is stable, that means R2 is equal to R1, then also you compute a dose, that is you give a dose that is 0. Okay, if the sugar level is decreasing, as well as the rate of increase is decreasing. Okay, I mean your sugar level is increasing, but the rate of increase is decreasing. Okay, so that can be defined through a condition like this. Okay, so for this case you need to have three samples, right? So previous two samples as well as the current sample. So current sample is R2, R1 and R0 are the previous two samples, right? So you can see like this, R2 minus R1, uh, current sample minus the previous sample. Similarly, you take the difference, R1 minus R0. So what is happening? If R1 minus R0, okay, is greater than R2 minus R1, that means the level is the rate at which the increase is decreasing. Okay, so this can be defined, right? So in that case also you need to give a dose that is equal to 0. Okay. Now, if the sugar level is increasing, the rate of increase is stable, or the rate of increase is also increasing. Okay, your sugar level increasing, now rate also increasing. That means you need to give some insulin, because this is the case. So the previous three cases where usually we observe a falling, okay, sugar level falling, but in the fourth case condition here is the sugar level is also increasing. Okay, sugar level is increasing, as well as now that means current sample is increasing, as well as the rate also increasing. Okay, so in that case what you need to do, so that this can be observed like this, R2 minus R1 greater than or equal to R1 minus R0. If this is the case, so in that case what you will be doing, so you going to give some sort of dose, and that dose can be calculated like this, something this sort of condition may be R2 minus R1. Okay, the difference between whatever the difference between the current two readings. Okay, whatever the two current readings, you have difference R2 minus R1, so divided by 4. If you round that particular value, okay, if this rounded result is equal to 0, so then you give minimum dose. So this is the way that you try to give some actions, right? So now if your natural language specification, at the same time you have multiple number of conditions or actions, alternative actions need to be taken according to certain number of conditions. In that case we go by a tabular specification. Okay, so this is you can understand now. Form based also you will have a template. Okay, through that template you will be giving your data, right? Now here is something like this. Okay, now the other one here is, as I told you, the other alternative here is graphical models. So where you try to use some sort of UML derivatives. Graphical models are most useful when you need to show how state changes, or where you need to describe the sequence of actions, right? So by using some graphical models you will be trying to show some different actions or sequence of events getting executed. Okay, so now you can see, let's say you wanted to have a sequence diagram. So it is one example. So you wanted to withdraw money from an ATM machine. So usually three things. Okay, so first thing that you need to validate your ATM card. That means whatever the PIN code you are going to give, that should be validated. Okay, and then whatever the request, like the cash withdrawal is the request that need to be handled, and then the transaction should be completed. So these are the various actions, right? Now from this sequence diagram we try to read from the top to bottom. Through this example you can see, so there is a reader, and there is a ATM machine, there is a session, and there is a customer console. This means this display panel. Okay, now what it does is, first we insert a card into a ATM machine. Okay, and thereafter some sessions are created for that particular user, or some actions are carried out, right? And after that what will happen, now whatever the inserted card you have, so now by using the reader, now reader will read the card. Okay, the reader will read the card. Okay, after reading the card it will ask you to give pin code. That means it is going to so read the pin through the customer console or through the display panel, right? So now you will be giving your pin code, right? Once that pin code will be given back to the session, and then it something computed, and then we'll check that whether that for that particular user, okay, so whatever the pin code that you have inserted, whether that is a valid one. If it is valid one, then it will give a message to the customer, or it will allow to carry the cash withdrawal activities. Okay. Now this way you can simply, so sequence of events are can be managed. That means these are the various messages being exchanged in order to accomplish a particular task. That the task here is the cash withdrawal. Okay, from the ATM machine. Now this is one diagram through which we exactly specify the requirement. This way also we are going to specify the requirement, right? Now there is a interface specification. Okay, so usually, so when there are systems, so these systems are going to interact with other systems, operating interfaces. Sometimes you need, as I told you, so you need to specify the interfaces also specifications. So now there is a procedural interfaces, there is a data structures that are exchanged, and the data representations. As I told you, there are two procedures, right? So sometimes you will, there are two modules, let's say, so you wanted to exchange some data between these two modules. So usually you go and exchange your data. So maybe you need to see whether these two modules should have some sort of data representations. They will be going and following. So now those things can be specified, can be specified, and sometimes we try to use some sort of formal notations to specify these interfaces also. Now there is a one example here. So there is a program description language interface description. Okay, so program description languages are being used to describe the specify the interfaces. So here you can see, so it is not a programming language, but it is a tool to specify the specify the interfaces, right? So this looks like this. So let's say there is a printer server. The printer server, so what will happen? So first, whenever you give a printer, so that gets initialized. That means the printer will be started. Okay, and then you need to give the printer name as well as the document. Okay, to that print function. Then what will happen? That particular printer is going to print a document D. And then once the printer carried out, maybe so once the printing activity is carried out, and now this will be given to a queue, okay, for a particular printer. Okay, now so then from that particular queue, now printer will take out the job and then print the activity. Okay, once, right? And then in meantime, if you want to cancel any print job, that means you wanted to cancel a print. So in that case also you can operate, use this sort of function. Okay, so printer P and the document what you wanted to cancel the activity. So you can. So now this way also you specify the interfaces. Okay, usually it is not a programming language. It looks like a programming language, but this way also we specify the requirements. Okay, so you will be able to, this is another way of doing this. So usually when you are talking about any requirement document, the requirement document is the official statement what is required by the developers, right? So user requirement is specification of the requirements. So usually we try to define and then specify the requirements. So it is not a design document. So it is actually going through which we try to specify what the system do rather than how it should do. Okay, this is all the requirement document, right? So now I stop here at this point of this time. Okay, we will now start the exam, right? Any doubts so far? Quickly. Okay, so now what you can do is, students, you can log in onto your system and then you start the exam. I am waiting here after the exam, and then you come back and again we will start. Okay. Students, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you go and give your
Yes,
exam.
sir. Yes.
So go to the Microsoft
Yes.
Teams group. Okay, log in and then you see the examination is getting opened, and then give your responses quickly. So it will
Hello,
take
sir.
15 minutes time.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, it shows that this form is currently not accepting these responses.
Right, you wait. So exactly at 11:30 it will start. You keep trying. Okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
when 11:30 will happen, so automatically this will take the responses. Okay.
sir, should we leave the team or again rejoin?
What?
Should we leave the team now and again rejoin after the test?
It's up to you. Okay, you can rejoin again, or
Okay.
you go through another one, but do that and come back.
So when is the start time?
Yes,
11:30 is the start time.
yes. Go ahead quickly. Otherwise, you will not be able to.